I'd now like to introduce our first speaker, who many of you will heard of or come across before. It's Keith Madeley, or Keith's full title is Canon Keith Madeley, MBE, also known as Mr. Yorkshire, Chairman of the Yorkshire Society, who's going to be telling us a little bit about a very recent venture of theirs that's seen some fantastic success. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Keith. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Shiraz, and yes, I see what you mean about the lights, Ros. I can't see you, but you can see me. First of all, I'd like to endorse what Ros has just said, because as a Bradfordian, I think it's fantastic what he's doing, and what you do as well, Shiraz, for Bradford in particular. And when he told me about Philip Smith's, I can remember as a little boy, we always used to queue on Christmas Eve, and the queue was like half a mile long to get the pie, so really, he's going to invite me to the opening. I shall enjoy that. Just before I go on to the cones, I would just like to say, I've mentioned it to one or two of you, Shiraz is also supporting the Yorkshire Society Annual Dinner and Awards, which is on Friday the 12th of May at the Leeds Hilton. If you can make it, just email me, ask for details, keith@mryorkshire.com. Our guest speaker is Roger Marsh, the chairman of the Leeds City Region Local Enterprise Partnership. Roger is always a delight to listen to him. And he'll be reporting back on the recent visit to China, trade mission to China. They've now got a memorandum of understanding. And also he's just back from the property conference in Mippen. So 12th of May, and it's a record cheap price. When you look at some of these awards dinners, you know, £90, £100 for a ticket. This is really good Yorkshire value. It's £45, 3-course, fantastic meal at the Leeds Hilton, including a welcome drink. So that's my plug for the Yorkshire Society. I'm just going to talk about these cones. I'm going to take you on a journey, forgive the pun, but we had a business in Bradford, independent financial advisory business, and we opened an office in Bushey near Watford in the early 1990s. And we were up and down the motorway. My wife worked with me within the company, on A1, M1, and it was the time when they were building Junction 21A at Leicester Forest, and cones everywhere. John Major was Prime Minister at the time, actually put a sign up, you might remember it, some of you, and it said Cones Hotline. And you could ring this number, and you got a guy at the end of the phone who told you where the cones were. And one day, Chris said, I'm going to turn this negative into a positive. I'm going to start writing children's books. She always did our press releases and loved words. I call her my wordsmith. And she started writing these stories. So when a human eye is not looking at a cone, that's when they become characters. So humans cannot see them as characters. Although there is one story where the poor little girl, and she does see them, but I won't spoil that. So she'd done about 15 stories within probably 4 or 5 months, and had a number of connections, but not as many as I've got now. And it was before really social media took off, and the publishing industry was going through a real change. It was starting to look at digital marketing, but it hadn't got there. But we went round people like Dorling Kindersley, Egmont Press, and they all said, this is absolutely brilliant, but it's too big. And I'm saying, what do you mean it's too big? Well, it's not just actually the books and getting the books out, it's the licensing that goes with it, TV rights, etc., etc. Well, that was okay, but it wasn't selling books. We then got recommended to go to the Children's International Book Show in Bologna. So we go over, 3 days in Bologna, a massive, absolutely massive exhibition. Went round knocking on doors, talking to people. We were invited then to the BBC at Broadcasting House to go and talk about a series. And this was so exciting, but nothing happened. They were all saying, you need to get your books out first. I'm going to really fast forward, 2010, we met a publisher, and in fairness, what she does is very good. And I think the fact that she was saying, well, I love this, I'll get this going for you. We probably should have done a little bit more due diligence. But we did launch book 1 in 2010 in the Leeds Club. And those of you who know me, I like launches of any sort of product. We got the Lord Mayor there, etc., etc., 100 people. And within 2 weeks, we realised we'd got the wrong publisher. So that was a false start. However, we got round about back end of 2013. A friend of mine I used to chair an academy, and he was one of the assistant principals. He was now running an arts venue, and he said, look, you get a load of traffic cones, and we'll have a cones festival. So I got hold of a major road construction company called Ringways, and we got these 50 Bigfoots delivered to the church on Bow Lane in Leeds. And we called it the Festival of Cones. We got the Lord Mayor of Leeds and Lady Mayoress. We had them wearing cones hats. Jaguar provided cars with liveried up as characters within the books, but we still haven't got any books published. And then I was introduced again through the network, through Jaguar Leeds, to a lady who was working for one of the lifestyle magazines. We had this great meeting at the end of which, now some of you who are in BNI will know Rick Armstrong. And she said, you need to meet Rick Armstrong. He knows so many people like you do. He runs BNI. I said, well, BNI is great, but it's not sort of my scene. But she, well, he's also a publisher. Antenna went up. So rang Rick, and I said, I don't suppose you do children's books, Rick, because it is a specialist market. And he chuckled. He said, Keith, I fell in love with 2 children's books, and I launched these 25 years ago. Yes, I love children's books. I said, I'm going to PDF you a story, a book. Sent that through, and literally, no exaggeration, ladies and gentlemen, within minutes, he's on the phone. He says, Keith, I love it. Love it. When can we meet? So back into 2014, we had the meeting, we agreed everything, and he got a fantastic young woman from Bradford called Zara Hussain, who just graduated from the University of Bradford, graphic designer. She's our illustrator. She's absolutely brilliant. And we launched book 1 again, different sort of design, slightly altered storyline, sponsored by Jaguar Leeds, Q Park. NSPCC said it was so good we could use their logo. I think normally you pay about $25,000 for that. And that was launched January 2015 in the Jaguar showroom in Leeds. Now, if you go onto YouTube and put Mr. Yorkshire TV in, there's a load of videos, about 40 odd. And if you scroll down, you will see a video of the launch of that book. Then back to Ringways. I said, do you fancy doing a book on sort of road safety? Yeah, come and meet our head of CSR. She said, this is brilliant. We'll do book 2. So we started with Meet the Cones. Book 2 is called Cones Meet New Friends. And from book 2 onwards, there's now 4 main characters. Constance Conan, Conrad, and Convera. So these are in every story. 2 other characters, 3 characters in every other story is Police Car. Now, Police Car is friendly. So when they get into trouble, he will come and help sort them out. If he can't do it, Wise Owl. And then if Wise Owl can't do it, you've got the magic of the moon dust. Where the moon dust falls, strange things happen, good things happen. So that was book 2. A friend of mine is the Chief Operating Officer of Grand Central Railway. I said, what shall we do a book on rail safety, Sean? Love it, absolutely love it. So we end up on a train from Bradford to Doncaster, Grand Central. Head of safety. By the time we got to Doncaster, she'd 6 A4 pages, and Cones on the Rails was launched. That was launched in June of last year at the National Railway Museum. Grand Central have even named a train after this one of the characters, Cone Coast Controller, and that's running up and down to London. And then in November, they said, oh, we've submitted the book as our entry in the UK National Rail Industry Awards under passenger safety. Fantastic. Then in December, they said, we're a finalist. Out of 35 entries, 7 finalists. So we're there in February at a dinner in London at the Battersea Pavilion, 900 people. We'd looked at the programme and thought, we'll be lucky to win this because there was 7 finalists, Network Rail, Chiltern Railways, Welsh Railways. Come to the point, and the 7 logos put up on the screen, the usual build-up, the few seconds, and the winner is Grand Central Railways, Chris Madeley, and the Cones. So she's now a national award-winning author. The Chief Operating Officer nearly fell off his chair. They've been going 10 years. It's the first award they got. Meanwhile, we're then talking to Northern Power Grid, and they said, we think this is fantastic. So Cones and Electricity was launched in December of last year, and we're just putting the finishing touches now to book 5, which is Cones on Site, sponsored by Caddick Construction. If you are interested in coming to the launch, it's going to be at Headingley Stadium, 10 for 10:30, 18th of May, and Caddicks have pre-ordered 3,000 books to give out to local schools. Then somebody suggested I go and meet Team Kirkstall Hub. So Team Kirkstall Hub is a little shop on Kirkstall Road that's dealing with the aftermath of the floods, the Boxing Day floods. And I go in, and the guy says, oh, this is Peter from Leeds Council, this is Eddie from the Environment Agents, saying this is what we're doing. Can we show you what we've done so far? And I said, guys, this is amazing. You're not telling anybody. What you've done is fantastic, which I'm sure will help if we get another, deluge of rain. I said, I've got some little characters in my bag that could get this message out for you. Showed them. Peter from Leeds Council said, this is great. We've no budget, but our contractor may have. So next minute we're talking to Bam Nuttall, £753 million turnover company, and Book 6 will now be launched on the 24th, 25th of June. Cones on the waterfront. And it's going to be, there's going to be a boat sailing through Leeds with the Cones characters on it. So that is Book 6. Last Wednesday night, she signed a contract with a TV film producer who's now going to try and get it on the children's channels. And this week, I've been talking to 2 logistic operators about trying to get their Cones characters on their wagons. So that's, I don't want to outstay my welcome now, and there's another speaker, Shiraz, but you've been great to give me this spot. I've got a few books with me if anybody's interested. They're normally on Amazon at £6.99. A publisher will let me sell them at events like this at £5. But there's also, if you've got any company connections, there's another version of the book, which is just slightly smaller, and that can, a company can buy those. If they buy 1,000, they can have them at £1 each, and their brand on it. So watch this. I don't think you'll ever look at a traffic cone in the same light again. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found that of interest.